Well, thanks for staying with us on the program this morning. Our next guest is a public policy analyst and the president, University of Nigerian Alumni Association, Abuja Branch. He is Dr. Ben Onwudinjo, and we're going to be discussing and analyzing the new revenue allocation formula. Doctor, good morning and welcome to the program.
How are you today?
Very well. Thanks for asking, sir.
Thank you very much.
Now, the news broke and quite from different angles yesterday when the RMAFC said it would be reviewing the sharing formula for the federal and state governments yesterday. Well, most of the news outlets were looking at it from the proposed review of the salaries of public office holders as well. Let's talk about how important this review is, because I remember it first gained prominence in terms of conversations in 2022, although the formula was to review it downwards from 51% for the federal government to 45%, and thereby increase the allocation for states upward. How significant is this intended review of the sharing formula?
It's an admission of a certain failure in governance. We have something what we call politics of government budgeting. In other words, budgeting process is a direct instrument of politics. So budgeting is a question of allocating resources to seemingly or to needs. So the government is now understanding that the deliverables are not being achieved. So for a long time, since time immemorial, the budgeting process has been steady. Now, 2027 is coming, and the current government, I'm telling you how these policies are arrived at. The people in government are understanding that there must be something they have to do to attract or to earn the confidence of people, to enable them, because they're saying the country is not moving forward as it should be. So the only instrument you can use to achieve a change or to inject some positivity in governance, in achievables, is to change the budgeting process. In other words, if federal government has a lot of money and the states have few, and then remember those who are going to vote are those from the grassroots. So you must be able to impact on the grassroots better to be easy for you to convince them to vote for you. So it's simply politics that the government is finding another way to achieve a result, to be in power.
Now, in achieving this result, everything we do has to be backed by law. I know the Ninth Assembly began deliberations on this. It was for the devolution of responsibilities. Now, under the current realities, the states seem to be taking more fiscal responsibilities in terms of administration. I know it's also bordering on the third tier of government and the responsibilities that dwell therein. But from a legislative perspective, what does the 10th Assembly need to get right in ensuring that these fiscal responsibilities are not too cumbersome for the second and third tiers of government, and that they have the required backing in terms of allocation to help them achieve it?
If I sound technical, our listeners may not even understand it. I normally, in my years of public policy analysis, I try to make it easy for everybody to understand, so that I won't sound like as if I'm in a PhD class. Now, both 10th Assembly, 100th, any assembly, they always watch the mood of the nation. They always watch the mood of the voters, possible voters, and they dance in tandem with the mood of the nation. And people are saying we are not getting sufficient divisions of democracy. So even if you have any assembly, because they also are supposed to be getting feedback from their constituents. Each of them has a constituency office in the office, and they get complaints. So when they come, an aggregate of their views will be that for us to remain in power, we must be able to work on the revenue formula, at least for the optics, for the symbolic value. People will say that these people are doing something. Even if they don't, and because I told you that the other time here I talked about the deep structure and superstructure, that the politicians are actors. They are playing to the gallery. They are playing to ensure that, because if you don't understand how policies are made, the issue is not what you're telling me is called in public policy, according to Charles Lindblom, is called surface structure. But we look at it from the deep structure. What is the real intention? The real intention is to continue to be in power, to be able to ensure that people believe in them, people believe in what they are doing, and vote for them. So the states, remember, who are the ones that determine the president's survival? If you are in the good books of a governor, if the president of the country is in the good, I'm trying to tell you the arithmetic behind these things. If a majority of governors are against the president, he will fail. So the governors have the intrinsic powers. So you devolve the allocation to the states. So the moment you now go to direct allocation, the moment you find out that the allocations no go more to the local governments now, if you're going to find out that it goes to the local, so is game is politics of government budgeting. So the way the trend goes, even if you finish passing this by law and the mood of the nation changes, they ban the law and find another one. So I want our audience to understand it from that point of view, that you don't analyze issues from the surface structure, but you analyze it also from the deep structure. You analyze it from what they are not saying than from what they are saying. The idea is that where does the political power lie? If governors have a lot of power, they will tilt towards the governors. If they don't have much of power, they go to the local governments. Sometimes recently they talked about going direct allocation. How has it worked? That is giving the money straight to the local governments. Has it worked? Because governors still have aces, the powers. So but by the time they're able to do that, if the governors are able to be outplayed, outsmarted, you find that the thing will change. So that's the way I understand it. I'm trying to avoid going technical because our audience are not PhD people. They are normal people that you be able to carry them along for them to understand governance. Because the whole idea, mass communication is about creating awareness for them to understand governance and be able to.
Now this understanding, let's break it down as easy as it can come.
Yeah.
Now, the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission is the body saddled by law to give the formulas for sharing, either be it for the federal, state, and the local governments. But as it stands now, you say we should focus on what they are not saying. Mm-hmm. What they are saying is that there should be more revenue to the states. But what they are not saying is the meeting, the engagements for stakeholders beyond the government agencies that would deliberate on providing this formula. How do we come about an inclusive engagement that represents the yearnings of these Nigerians, be it through maybe a gender responsive public service planning mechanism, participatory budget? What are some of the underlying instruments that can be used to achieve the much needed transparency and true representation, as you have said in your earlier comments?
I'm trying to avoid making it complicated for the audience. Now, revenue, all of those we are talking about are simply agents of government, and they must down to the body language of the federal government. I'm trying to avoid bureaucracy. Whatever meeting they have, whether they have meeting of all these things you are saying, it boils down to how does it impact on the masses. So it is a chain. The federal government is watching the masses. These people are watching the federal government. So it's a chain. So if you go into trying to, I can do that, but if you go into trying to do the technical analysis, the audience will be lost. We're not talking to experts. We're talking to the market men and all that. Otherwise, they will not be able to. They will forget about the listening. Now I'm saying, where does the power lie today? Where will I get votes? If I do this thing now, will I be able to win? They stay, public policy analysts stay in the offices and plot this graph. That thing they're telling you is not the issue. The issue is that what will I say to make people vote for me?
So we believe it's pure optics.
It's optics.
There's no sincerity in this.
I have told you before here that the politicians are actors and actresses. I'm telling you, we have Nollywood people, we have traditional intellectuals, we also have lawyers, they are actors. That's why people say lawyers are liars, politicians are liars. No, they're not liars.
But is this entirely true?
No, because they deploy figures of speech. They deploy language. Professor Kwanya calls it language and habits of thought. What they're telling you, I'm trying to choose a better word. It will be inappropriate to follow them the way they are saying it. Okay, have you watched Nollywood before? About hyperbole. What they're saying,
exaggerating.
They exaggerate. If you don't,
so is this entirely exaggerated?
Simple. It has to be simple. Why in the meeting? Isn't that what they tell you that they did the meeting that they tell you? When they come and give you a press conference, a press release, we're in there. It's what they tell you. But how you will get it is how it affects you. If a preponderance of the masses are affected negatively, what do I know what you are doing in your meeting in somewhere in Villa or you are having meetings? What does it concern somebody who is not able to feed himself? Who is not able to feed his children? Who is not able to pay school fees? So the federal government, the people in government are watching these people, and they are watching them. And these revenue people are talking about are watching the federal government. What is their body language? So it ends up, we must be able to analyze public policy as from the point of view of the impact on the final person. Otherwise, you make it a technical affair and the people not even, it will not serve the purpose. So I don't believe in the, okay, let me give an example now. You come and ask me, for example, I'm a governor of a state, you ask me to bring my government, give me my achievements. I go and say, SA, go to my computer, print that achievements. No, it must be based on how people are faring.
Evidential based achievements.
Simple. Otherwise, these people are simply acting.
Now, in the hope of the common man not feeling lost or losing hope, listening to you saying that it's been exaggerated and it might not translate into fairness in terms of sharing formulas that would provide for the revenues to expend and make life better for them. How do we get about equity in whatever formula that would translate into this real life evidential based achievements?
Equity has to be, that is why the masses have the onus to vote for the appropriate person. If you have the wrong person in government, you won't have equity. That is why several bodies like yours continuously educate the masses that in terms of voting, you must vote for the best candidate. But by the time you get it wrong, then, but if you complicate issues for the masses, if you by your teachings, by your awareness creation, you complicate it, then it fails. The evidence must be the point, and the masses stand no chance in understanding what they're talking about. Most of them, how many of them went to school?
Now we've been using this formula of sharing since 1992. One question that comes to mind, even from an uneducated perspective, is why hasn't there been a change since 1992?
Simple, because it also shows you the lethargy that the same development projects have been there. Meaning, we are looking for the roads. We are talking about transportation. Those simple
electricity supply, basic social amenities
has been there for over the years. Meaning, there's no progress in tandem with the resources we should have in the country. So today, in your house, today you budget for sugar. Tomorrow, sugar. Next tomorrow, sugar. Are you doing well? You're not doing well because you should have gone ahead of. You should have had
strategic needs,
simple, more better than
practical
that.
Needs.
So, though the concept of consistency in the budgeting process since 1992 to date has shown that the country is not doing well in comparison to with its own potentials. Otherwise, this year roads, next year the same thing, and you are still throwing money at those things. It shows that I'm analyzing it for the benefit of the masses, not for the benefit, not for my own colleagues who are experts. Otherwise, this program is not for experts; it's for the mass media. So, if you have been doing the same thing over 19, because remember I told you about politics of government budgeting. Budgeting is the most important instrument of policy making. In fact, the most important instrument of politics. So, if a person who comes to government, the first thing he does is about budget. So, he allocates resources in line with where he thinks development should come. And then in line also what he thinks that people should be able to buy his idea and vote him again or vote his party again. If you look at party ideologies, you find out that they almost are the same. What do? They don't go through a rigor of changing the narrative. They just simply dust it, put one or two together, and bring it again. Meaning that the standards are not high enough. How can you have the same thing if budgeting is about development? How can you have the same thing 1992 to date? Meaning there are no issues.
Now, this technicality of this and the joy of being a public media outlet like this is some form of education.
Yeah.
Now, there are key things we need to point out to also carry our viewers along. That's why I refer to the National Assembly, because they have the legislative powers. They had removed this basic social amenities, much like rail, electricity, from the concurrent list. And now, with this being removed, it means that it's supposed to be shouldered by states and local governments. But I said, where now? Most of the states and local governments do not have people, much like yourself and I, who participate in budget under participatory budget as one of the ways that has been advised to be followed to find the true needs of people. There are also more concepts that are coming on board. Concepts like gender responsive public services, taking that into planning to identify the specific needs of men from women, the true needs. How do we educate people to know that it is part of their civic duty to be part of participatory budgeting?
No, I'm going to go outside what you are saying. I don't buy your syllogism. The problem, I have a PhD in public policy analysis. This you are saying is not correct too. You know why? The problem of governance in Nigeria is pre-Bendalism. This National Assembly, I'm not seeing it from that point of view. I've told you about surface structure and deep structure. What they're telling you is different from what they want to do.
But Nigerians have a duty to be part of the process,
Can
don't they?
They don't, because, okay, how many of you can even go to International Assembly? How many of you can even actually access this House of Members? How can you? I'm talking about there's a difference between what has been said and what's obtainable. Tell the people the truth.
But we need to remodify to create access. That's why I believe this constitution review should reflect things like this. Before certain laws can come into being, away from the theatrics of public hearing, we should have more town hall and civic engagements, shouldn't we?
Who should start it?
We, the people of Nigeria, should start
How?
it.
Under which platform? Under which? Will you be able to pay for halls? Will you be able to mobilize people?
If CSOs, as we have, can have more civic engagements through their platforms, don't you believe that Nigerians might have more access to their lawmakers and representatives?
I was at the FCC studios yesterday and I said the same thing, that most of these CSOs are people who are looking for money to eat. They are not even strong enough. Apart from one or two, they're not even strong enough. People establish CSOs to enable them to even earn a living, and they're being sponsored by even some of these politicians too. So you are giving them roles which they should have, but which they don't have.
But some of them are funded by international partners away from the Nigerian government.
In other words, they are not even self-funding. In other words, they are, who pays the piper dictates the tune. So if you are being funded by someone else, then what powers do you have? Tell the people the truth so that they can be in a position to understand public policy and adjust accordingly. Otherwise, we'll just be talking.
So now let's talk about the adjustments. What's the best adjustment to have in a position where you have the need to change the sharing formula that's existed since 1992, and in your words, you can't even trust the genuinity of the process? How do you just adjust?
You shouldn't. It will be. Don't be offended when you watch Nollywood or these videos, and they tell you, "I will kill you now. I'll kill you. You die." Do you trust it? Do you trust that?
We know it's a screenplay.
And I'm sorry that this one is also a screenplay. Put me anywhere. Politics started from classics. I studied classics from University of Nigeria. It started from there, from drama. So they do drama. So if you don't, church, they are drama people. If you don't get it from that point of view, you telling people, you will be raising people's hopes in a way that they will say, we don't trust them. You should trust them, because if you understand what they are doing, you know that you shouldn't trust them that way. Check their performance from the output, not from what they are telling you, because drama people cannot tell you, they're not exact. Why we are here is to, some of us who have more knowledge should be able to tell people the truth. Otherwise, you make technical talk and people will not be anywhere. I'm saying these people, don't judge them from there, because you know why? I told you about pre-bender politics. They tell you something about revenue, blah blah, and then they go, those people in National Assembly, most of them have the intention of being governors after. Are you aware of that? I'm a senator, I'm a House of member, I'm planning to be governor. So they're hustling to see whether whether they'll be able to adjust the revenue in line with states, so that when they become governor, because when they are in power, they'll be able to allocate resources for themselves. Otherwise, why are we having so much?
But there are instruments to checkmate this allocations.
Who will checkmate the instrument? Who are going to? What are the instruments?
Dr. Soda, it doesn't sound like we have a nation where we don't have any systems to at least make efforts in checkmating some of the illicit financial flows.
We have efforts. What I'm saying, that they are not in tandem with what we should have. They are below par. If they are not below par, why are we suffering in Nigeria? Why are the results not bringing? It's better we say the truth. Let it be clear and true, so that people will be able to learn. Otherwise, we will be preaching.
So now, how do we tie this revenue sharing formula to performance indicators, more like a performance metrics?
Performance in terms of the deliverables, in terms of the, okay, let us say, if like somebody was, let me give an example. They said about, without calling names, Coastal Road, Lagos Calabar Coastal Road. They get figures. Heavy figures. Somebody went there to the road and was saying that it's not true. So how do you measure it? I'm telling you that the masses, people are weak enough not to be able to hold the government accountable, because government are not even provided themselves to be that accountable you're talking about. So I'm saying the only way out is electoral reforms. Okay, if you don't put the proper people in government, they will hijacked the system to the extent that
So it starts with electoral reforms.
that's the only
Once
way.
we get the good people in office, we can.
If you get people who are kindly disposed, otherwise you are talking rhetorics.
Now, there's the concept of internally generated revenue, particularly with performance of states. Earlier on in the course of our review this morning, we looked at a report that said the second quarter performance of budgets across 31 states seem to be falling on the par. Collectively, the 31 states this year have disbursed 2.5 trillion naira, just a fraction out of the expenditure estimates of 17.5 billion naira. This is in executing capital projects across states, infrastructures to cater to these basic social amenities we're talking about. With such underperformance in the budget at state, I don't even want to talk about the federal government where we have 3 budget cycles running concurrently. Do Nigerians lose track of even monitoring what is supposed to be executed as at when? Is there some sort of confusion? How do we as citizens keep up with the deliverables?
Now, the challenge of Nigeria is that they will have weak institutions and strong individuals. But it should be the other way around. If the institutions are weak, considerably weak, what you are saying will not even fly. If like say, use microphone and talk.
But it seems to have backing by law, because under the current fiscal laws of Nigeria, I heard the DG the other day saying that there's nothing wrong with having overlapping budget cycles. I'm not interested that is obtainable in Kenya, is obtainable in India. Should this be the normal?
I'm not interested in what the DG said. I'm interested in how that has affected the normal person on the streets.
But should it even be that way? Should the laws allow for such overlaps?
Because the laws are made by human beings who operate from the deep structure, not from the surface structure. What is a law? A law must be the one that must give you the concept of nature, equity, fairness, and justice. If the preponderance of Nigerians are hungry, which law is that? If the people are, if people are not able to pay school fees for their children, what is law? Law is a piece of paper. People gather together and made the process and passed it, made some pre-vandalism and passed it. I'm interested in law. I'm interested in the extent to which what we are saying, what we are doing impacts positively on the masses. Otherwise, it fails.
One of the common excuses that we have is the fact that in terms of the budget, particularly revenue, expected revenue is falling below shortfalls, and most times they say it's owing to circumstances beyond their control. The war in the Middle East affecting the global price of oil, even internally in terms of our expected production of crude oil in the country falling below the OPEC quota. When we have these excuses as to why revenue cannot meet budget expectations, what hope is there that we can achieve a budget performing, even if technically it might be in surplus?
What I said is a shame that Nigeria, a healthy country like this, cannot generate enough money to sustain itself. Let me ask you a question. When you spoke about IGR, most of these who are doing IGR are people, these IGR facilities are owned by politicians. Every market, I should call names in Abuja here, those who get tickets, you talk about IGR, those who do tickets are owned. So they do what we call, they do what we call, I'm trying to find a TV word. Like now, I get a position, either minister or governor, then I'm going to be able to patronize you. You're in charge of Use Park, you're in charge of the day. So whatever you bring to government, becomes what should be. So how can the IGR not go down when it is when we have a consistently prebendal politics, a preponderantly prebendal politics in Nigeria? So don't you think it's shameful that the whole country, look at all of us here, how many are we? Tell us something. When some countries that are even not as big as Niger State produce more than the whole country is saying. So we are waiting for oil money because the people that are there, they capture the state resources. So few are so rich and others are poor. It's shameful. I don't believe in those kind of stuff.
Now, in achieving this, you've called on the need to build strong institutions.
Yes.
Now, before we build those institutions and before we elect those who have fairness and kindness at heart, are there some templates that we might like to adopt? Say probably a stipulated framework for reviewing these sharing formulas so that we can begin to create this document even before we have the trusted hands like we envision?
If you say we, who are the we?
We, the people of Nigeria.
How? You have no such platform. Don't give people wishful thinking. I'm not going to be able to tell people what will not happen because I know this thing very well. The only way is to say, okay, commit class suicide, meaning you, before heaven comes down, before the thing becomes better, don't even die. Class suicide means move from A to B, move from poverty to rich, as in, what do you do as a skill? Sustain yourself first without going against the law until there is a Eldorado. Otherwise, you are saying what will not ever happen. Because the structure of the Nigerian politics is simply preponderantly prebendal, and nothing you can do about it. Nothing. Except you have a good reform when you have people that are empowered.
It's the reforms I'm now talking about.
Okay.
Like we've talked about the timely review of the minimum wage. That's using an example. Now, if since 1992 up until 2025, was there even, like you call it, the screenplay of attempting to review the sharing formula? Should there be a guideline saying that probably after every 5 or 10 years, we should review revenue sharing formulas for states, local governments, and the federal?
I don't like this question. You know why? Tie it to, we should review it to enable us achieve this or that. If it's about paper something, we can always review something.
Right now, you're brought in the enablement. I started from the need to even have that paper at first. What are some of the enablements we should tie them to?
The enablement to tie them to is in terms of the ingredients of development, in terms of the enablements. What is the per capita income of a Nigerian citizen today? In terms of the agriculture, simple. Let the government say, if you go back to agriculture, all these things will come down. Because the reason is because people are totally hungry and disillusioned. If the economy is stable, you find out that people will be able to trust you. It doesn't matter how many meetings you have, how many documents you produce in terms of law or whatever. People are not going to believe you because they're hungry. They don't trust you because why they don't trust you is because what they're saying is not reflecting in what they're doing. So the deliverables include ensuring that the lives of Nigerians are improved. If the people's lives are not improved, we are just going to be talking technicalities, and it's not the aim of setting up a television station. You're supposed to tell people as it is to improve their life, to engender awareness, to make it easier for them to live a better life. Otherwise, if you commit elite conspiracy, meaning we talk for the elite, that is to say, except your station is being listened to by only elite, and that's not that's not the correct thing. So for me, it has to just be about concrete deliverables. Today is our life better than yesterday's one? Today we should be able to say, okay, now Nigerians are at this level: infant mortality, out of school children, the natality rate, poverty rate, out of unemployment, underemployment. What are they? Look at the MB statistics people. These who are doing Bureau of Statistics. What figures are they bringing? So we must tie it in line with those figures. If the figures are low, these ones, we don't want to know these things are saying. We must bring that topic to match with deliverables. Otherwise, we are committing elite conspiracy, meaning the elites are talking, masses are just, they don't mind them.
Now, for the elites, and particularly government in particular, one of the telltale signs we see, especially with the allocation of resources, is a debt servicing, or what I call it, recurring debt servicing of the government. No matter how much revenue is generated, the temptation to use 95% of that sum to service outstanding debts, while still, most times, borrowing to still service those debts. You've talked about self-sustenance, regardless of what the government is providing at the time. As it stands, many Nigerians will tell you that they are a government for themselves because of all the situations currently ongoing. How do you self-sustain in such an environment where there's already challenges with providing to fund infrastructure whilst the government is servicing debt?
As simple as that. As simple as ABC. Pursue production against consumption. Most of these debts you talk about were borrowed for consumption. We are a rent-seeking prebendal nation, whereby, okay, people bring money from oil. It is about what do I get? People say money, money. What do I get? No, but they're talking about what do I give in. Sir, please just say, let us face United States agriculture today. Do you know that we can generate money from agriculture even more than oil? But we're not doing it. So people are laid back and expecting to share money. What can Nigeria do for me? Not what I can do for Nigeria. So a simple change in orientation. See, it's not rocket science.
We should be more patriotic. What can we do for our nation?
It should be more production based. How many factories do we have today? Do you know the number of unemployed Nigerians we have today? Do you know, put 1/3 of them to farming, not necessarily consistent in mechanized farming alone. Do you know the agri chain?
But doctor, as it were, most of those who are into subsistent agriculture, as it were, are now being affected by insecurity in their different agrarian communities.
Who is to blame? Government. Now, if the government is not able to tackle insecurity, what are you telling me about revenue something? Because is it possible for the ragtag people to be able to overwhelm government, the whole state apparatus? That means something is wrong somewhere. You just simply come there and game people by telling them stories, believing the meanwhile. The essence of governance is not even is in terms of security and the other, you know what I mean. So you're not doing that. How can you be overwhelmed by small people? And then they overwhelm you, they're telling us these stories. Revenue mobilization.
This morning, the DSS gave us information that they're not so much of a small people, like you say, that they're being funded by Al-Shabaab.
And what next? So, meaning the Al-Shabaab is now over and above the capacity of Nigerians to be a sovereign nation. That's what it means. Therefore, let us call for foreign aids, if that is the case. I find it shameful too that I will say this country, if they're funded by Al-Shabaab, we have facilities to stop them. Can you find? Okay, it's like illegal people coming in Nigeria. You cannot stop them, but you have the apparatus. People are funding. You can't have that. Then who's to blame? It means you are weak, and then people who have given you the trust, we want them to believe you. We want them to be happy that you can't even stop foreign aid, foreign funding. So they are funding them. People cannot even farm. People are hungry, and then you say you are giving documents.
Now, doctor, beyond this admission that part of those, carrying out the terrorism we see in Nigeria funded by illegal international terrorist organizations, has been a court judgment that is, much like you've said all through our conversation, talking about the political class, not even gone as far as branding them as terrorist groups. A Canadian court passed that judgment calling 2 political parties in Nigeria terrorist groups. We've had senior advocates and human rights lawyers reacting to this, calling for prosecution to combat and counter such a judgment. Overarchingly, what does this do to our global image as Nigerians?
It is a shattering impact. These senior advocates of Nigeria who are saying these things want to be recruited as lawyers, and they make a lot of money. You can say, I told you before, lawyers, teachers, politicians are all actors and actresses. If you follow what they are saying, you miss the point. If you how would they do it? Want to sue?
They say they need immigration lawyers to begin to make a case for us.
They are also consultants. They now write proposals and claim billions of naira to be going up and down. Then they are diverting attention from the main issues. Canada is a sovereign country, and they have said it in their country. What will you do about it? Or did they not have rules? Did they not have their own standards? If maybe now somebody from somewhere outside Nigeria is in Nigeria and he commits offense against Nigeria passes a judgment against the person, that place they come and they contest with Nigeria. They are a sovereign country, and they've said it their own. If not, or are you saying that what they've said is not true? Okay, if you are a party that is in charge of is in power, and your country people are suffering and hungry, you are a terrorist. I'm telling you the truth. Otherwise, you failed in your duty to provide good resources for your people, and they're hungry, they are unemployed. See the masses. Have you heard of the unemployment rate in Nigeria? Have you heard of the issue of the out of school children? Have you heard of all the insecurity in Nigeria? How many people dying on the road? How many people dying on the, and then if you are able to subject the people to quick death on the road, you're a terrorist. And if they judge that, those lawyers, senior advocates, they will simply write proposals and collect money. It will be up, and they will, lawyers. That's what they say. They're liars. They will give you language. You keep making money. They become rich. I think you are gaming the masses. You are gaming the masses. So it becomes, people now suspect government. That's why there's a continuous chasm between government and the governed. They say, don't mind them. You become elite. That is to say, you are on your own, they're on their own. The gap between governance and the governed continue to widen. Why don't we say the truth? Why don't we bring people to the reality and then guide them? Otherwise, people are simply making the country becoming richer and richer, while others are becoming poorer and poorer. Bringing policies, bringing perspectives that alienate the poor. So we have more poor people in Nigeria than the rich. Why is it like that? So if you are able to, you are governing people and you are publishing them, you are a terrorist.
Well, Dr. Ben, this is where we draw the curtains to a close on this conversation. Quite thought-evoking. We appreciate you for coming on the program this morning.